Welcome everyone. This is part of our sequence of videos on the theory of demand. So just to remind you, we've learned about theory of demand, the concept of the downward sloping demand curve, movements along the demand curve, shifts of the demand curve, and we also learned about the concept of the elasticity of demand. We're now going to add a concept that I am going to call consumer's surplus. In order to understand this concept, I'm going to go back to that demand schedule that we began with when we started this unit. In order to figure out this concept, always remember that what you need to understand the concept of consumer surplus is, first, you need the whole demand curve or schedule, and second, you need to have a price that you are using as the baseline from which you're trying to figure out this surplus. So let's use this price of 2. At a price of $2, A purchases 2, B purchases 1, C purchases 1, D purchases 1, E purchases nothing. We've got a total of 5, right? So 5 items that are being demanded, each one costs $2, right? Total cost from the consumer's side would be $10 if 5 things were sold at $2 a piece. But let's just step back from this for a minute. Look at this price of 2 and let's start with A. A is buying 2 units. But the first unit, A would have been willing to pay $4. So always remember, in order to figure out consumer surplus, you are comparing the price paid to the price you would have been ready to pay. So for the first unit, A would have been willing to pay $4, but A is only paying $2. And then for the second unit, A would pay $2 and A is paying $2, so that's fine. So, but for the very first unit, A would have paid $4, A is only paying $2, so that first unit would have been $2 more self-worth from A's perspective compared to what A actually paid. So from A's perspective, they got a surplus of $2. Let's look at B. B is buying 1 unit. But B would have been willing to pay $3 for that first unit. B only has to pay $2 for that first unit. So from B's perspective, B is gaining 1 unit. C pays pays $2, that's what it's worth to them. D pays $2, that's what it's worth to them, and that's it. So the surplus we're seeing is that for A, for that first unit, it was $2. For B, for that first unit, it was $1. That's a total of $3. So if you look at consumers as a whole, what you're suggesting is that while this would have been something that consumers pay $10 for in the market, consumers have a surplus in the sense that initial units might have been worth more to them than the $2 they paid. That's basically the idea of consumer surplus. Now I'm going to shift to this graph and I'm just going to show the same idea to you graphically. Here is your price of $2. But for the first unit, you would have paid $4. You're only paying $2. That's your surplus there. For the second unit, when B enters, you would have been willing to pay $3, but you only had to pay $2. That's your surplus there, and so on. So if you just add across all these, that's your consumer surplus. So geometrically, what I'm suggesting is that I can use this graph to say, look at the price and compare it to the demand curve to figure out what you would have been willing to pay versus what you actually paid. And that area above the price up to the demand curve is the consumer surplus. Now, why is this useful? It's going to be very useful when we come to trade theory and we want to figure out what the benefits or costs are to consumers with trade. This is a major element of trade theory. When we come to the theory of externalities, the environment, public goods, non-profits, this is again going to be important. What is the benefit to consumers, for example, of parks versus what they pay for them, and so on. So this concept of a consumer surplus is an easy way for us to capture the idea that there is a benefit that consumers have, in the sense that what they pay compared to what something is worth to them, there is a wedge there. Understanding this, we're going to do much better when we come to the theory of the consumer and we learn the concept of marginal utility. And then we'll understand that the price reflects the marginal, and then we'll think of the total and so on. But overall, this concept of consumer surplus is going to be a very useful way for us to consider the benefits of of a particular good to a consumer compared to what they paid for the good. Thank you.